You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland. It's me, Connie McLaughlin. On the phone in for the last hour, I was asking, should it be made mandatory in Scotland, similar to what they're proposing in England and Wales, to teach maths until the age of 18? So many of you have been getting in touch with me. Teresa in Glasgow says, hi Connie, when I was at primary school in the 60s, we used to do problems. They were written in longhand and there was like a story behind it, but there was an arithmetic problem to be solved in it. It was fun and I believe it gave me the basic skills for both arithmetic and maths later in life. This texter says, I've been saying this for years. Employers' basic needs are literacy, numeracy, interpersonal skills and organisational skills. That's me stuffed in. Arithmetic is essential in the curriculum for excellence, numeracy and problem solving in a practical way, also literacy and comprehension. Keep them coming in to me, 80295. Also coming up on the programme, remember this moment?
Come on, Kelly! One more go! Come on, Kelly Holmes! It's goal! Kelly's won the goal for Great Britain!
Dame Kelly Holmes taking gold in the 2004 Olympics. She joins me shortly to tell us she's taken her latest fitness challenge to the max and what we can try and do just to make ourselves a little bit more healthy. Nearly half a century, but how can you continue to enjoy the odd glass without breaking the bank? And Ross Allen will be here for our usual pet surgery. No problem, too big or too small for Ross. To get your questions in, 80295 or give him a call, 08085 92 95 00. Plus,
she was just 35 when she was diagnosed with incurable stage 4 bowel cancer, but determined to stay positive and help others living with the disease.
That's Lorraine Kelly there, speaking of the late Dame Deborah James. She'll be joining me just after 11 o'clock this morning to talk about continuing the work that she started in this year's No Buts campaign.
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Right, if you're a regular listener to the show, you will know that Tuesday means one thing. It is Name the Place time here on BBC Radio Scotland. If you're not as familiar with it, this is how it goes. Carol Huff provides me with a list of excellent, definitely mind-boggling clues that should, I say should, lead you to a place in Scotland. So when you think you've got the answer, you text me 80295. And then when you hear this noise, that means one of you clever clogs out there has got it right, okay? It never, honest to God, it never fails to amaze me how you manage to get these clues because I'm so rubbish at them. Right, here's clue number one. The first part of today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Butes. The first part of today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Butes. Does that make any sense for you? Does that make it a little bit easier? If you think you know, send me a text, right? 80295, and we'll have a wee chat about it later. I'll give you a clue too soon. Let's kick things off with some music though. This is Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel.
Fly
Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel here in BBC Radio Scotland. Classic track that. Hope you enjoyed it. My next guest burst onto our scenes after setting quite a few running records in 2004 in the Olympics. You might have that image of Dame Kelly Holmes parading across the track with the British flag on her and the medal podium. It might be imprinted already on your mind. It's an iconic image that. Since then, though, she stepped away from competing on the track, but her love of sport has really never left her, and now she wants to take us on her next sporting journey with her. I'm pleased to say that Dame Kelly Holmes joins us on the programme now. Morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. When I'm talking about 2004, does it seem like a lifetime ago, or does it seem still so fresh in your mind that it's imprinted in there?
Oh my gosh, we're 20 years next year. Where has that gone? Seriously, where has that gone? But yeah, it's never going to leave those type of moments. But of course, things change. We change.
Yeah, and you think about, I guess, the next step for you and what you've been doing over the past few years is trying to bring everything, I suppose, that you learned within your time in elite sport into sort of day-to-day life. Tell us a little bit about what that's looked like for you and in particular about this Fine Five campaign.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously over the years, you know, I've kind of changed in my body and what I do, and also the people that I get to be with or influence. And it is about just lifestyles. And I've talked very openly about my mental health and obviously physical health and how those two things have been impacted over the years. And so I got involved with Nuffield Health, who were part of the sort of delivering the Healthier Nation Index, and we've done a Find Five campaign. Basically, there was a survey that was saying that the cost of living crisis was impacting people's physical health. Around 60% actually of people's physical health and 59% of their mental health were being affected because of that. But also that over the last 12 months, which I found quite strange because given, you know, pandemic we had, but now they're saying 1 in 3 people's mental and physical health is worsening. And I think that's just because we are going back to our manic, stressful lives and we're not taking accountability of ourselves. So the Find Five campaign is really about saying to people, find 5 minutes to make a conscious decision to think about your own well-being. You know, your own health and your well-being should be non-negotiable anyway in terms of it should be your priority.
Yeah.
So start getting people to think about it.
So when we talk about our well-being, right, I think some of us might have different ideas of what that might look like. So explain to us a little bit about what you mean.
Well, for example, if you're talking about exercise, and now the NHS recommendations is like 2 hours and 30 minutes of exercise a week, yeah? So actual exercise, getting out, moving, walking, maybe going on a bike, gym, whatever. What we're actually doing is 79 minutes a week, so an hour and 20, that's 11 minutes of a day. So 76 people out of this survey are doing only 11 minutes a day of exercising. Now you think how long you're awake for. Now if lack of exercise is having a detrimental effect on your mental health, surely the whole thing is that we need to move our bodies a lot more.
You're saying this and I'm trying to move my legs as I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
because when you're sitting down, so many of us are sitting down for so much of the day. I guess it's about trying to find the right way for you that you can incorporate this into your life. Maybe if you've got a family or you've got a sort of a lifestyle that doesn't necessarily mean that you can pop along to the gym or take that even, you know, an hour out or whatever to really say this is the time that I use to make my body feel better.
Yeah, so you know, so if you think about 5 minutes, so I don't know, some people work in offices. Yeah, how many people are standing by the lift, waiting for the lift when there's a stairway right next to them? Get up the stairs. You know, how many people, if they do go on a bus or go on public transport or whatever, or park a bit further away, like walk to the next stop or get off a little bit earlier or park your car a little bit further away from work. You know what I mean? Go when you get home, instead of just going home and maybe putting on the telly, sitting down, go around the garden, go up and down the stairs a little bit, kind of think that you can move the body. Go online, find some free exercises. How to get started, actually, is probably one of the hardest things for people to think about. If you're not into it, it's not your normality. But lack of exercise decreases your motivation, adds to your stress and anxiety, makes you more lethargic, and in turn then unhappy. Whereas if you can increase your exercise, and it gives you those endorphins, you feel like you're breathing air, you're grounded on the floor, you kind of go out, you socialise, you meet people for that walk, it can make you feel like so much better. Why wouldn't you take that option?
I know what you're saying, right? And you do get that feeling of whenever I think you're in the zone of exercising, you can't imagine a time that you would never not exercise. But there might be people listening at home thinking, that's Dame Kelly Holmes. She's an Olympian. You know, it's easy for her. She can go out and, you know, it's in your blood almost for that to be part of your DNA. Whereas some people might think, well, actually, it's not for me.
Well, the thing is, my mental health has been affected over the years. And when, you know, I'm in bad mental health, I feel I have no motivation. I want to be that person that just sits down, hides, stays in bed, kind of, you know, feeling sorry for myself, and also feel my anxiety and my stress getting worse and worse and worse. And that then stops you doing things. It stops your motivation. But I also know the benefits of exercise. I also know when I exercise on a regular basis, it doesn't have to be that long. Remember, I've been retired now, 18 years. So, you know, I'm a lot older. You know, I go through life stresses as well as everybody else, and at the end of the day, what I do know is that when I move more and I make a conscious decision because I'm feeling low, it absolutely makes a difference to my mindset. I start to feel a little bit more alert. I start to feel more confident in myself. I start to feel like less negative, and that's because I'm actually moving. And like I say, sometimes for me, just going out for a walk is more important for me than going for a 30-minute run. You know, I would prioritise that and hearing the birds and just feeling the fresh air and just thinking I'm alive. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just need to do that. You know, we sit there sometimes watching TV, sit doing nothing while the ads are going on. You could have got up, put the kettle on, gone outside, gone up and down the stairs a little bit more, did a bit of squatting, get some tins out of your cupboard, just move.
I'm looking around the studio here to see if there's anything that I can start doing some bicep curls with. I don't know.
There you go.
But, you know, I found it really interesting, actually. I was reading an article that you'd done in the last wee while about how perimenopause had impacted your training and I guess lots of different aspects of your life. Tell us a little bit about this, and maybe there might be people who are listening who might be struggling with that too, and in turn it might be more difficult for them to find the motivation to go out and do these things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've seen dramatic changes in my body and obviously my lifestyle, so I've probably had bigger impacts because I've done it before and done a lot less than never doing anything. You know what I mean? So actually at the moment for me, like the body aches, the lethargy, the kind of, you know, irritability, the not sleeping well, they're all having an effect, and they do. You know, they make you more tired. I used to be like, I'd crack on at the, you know, crack of dawn, and I would be literally, you know, sleeping so late, and I had so much energy in the day, and now I just can't do that. And actually, if you look at the relationship of sleep as well, I was looking at this because I am interested in what people say. They're saying that we get on average 5 hours, 56 minutes of sleep a night, where your recommended is between 7 and 9. Now I'm thinking to myself, okay, sometimes I don't even get 5. No wonder I'm so shattered in the morning and I don't have the energy that I normally do. I'd normally get up and do my exercise 30 minutes in the morning before I even start my day, because that's the best time. I hate leaving it till late at night. But me actually trying to get up and do that these days is really difficult, and I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. And I know it's because of all these other things going on with my body. And if I then go, well, I can't do anything, I can't exercise, what am I going to feel? I'm going to feel so much worse. And I know the impact of having really bad mental health. And I think that's what people need to think. Like, some things are non-negotiable, like sleep is affected by our minds racing around at night. What do? We pick up our phone and scroll aimlessly through Instagram or Facebook, thinking we do it for a couple of minutes. Next thing, 30 minutes has gone. You know what I mean?
By the way, on the sleep front, try having an 11-week-old baby at home, and then we'll talk about 5 hours is a dream right now for me.
Yeah, I know. And then, like, you feel like, yeah, but the impact of those is long term, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
so many people, like I'm looking, at my friends or at age I am now, and I'm thinking so many people start to make changes when it's too late because their health has deteriorated, their strength has got worse, they're finding it hard, they're falling, they've got no strength at all, no energy to do things with their children or their grandchildren. Illnesses are coming to the forefront. They look at other people getting ill and thinking, oh my God, I've got to change my lifestyle. By the time you thought about it, you could be one of those that is impacted. And I'm talking about, real health issues. So if you could do 5 minutes, that if it's consistent, 5 minutes throughout your day at different times isn't a lot of time, is it?
It's just getting into, I think it's probably the routine factor of that
routine,
too.
habit, consistency, and then you just start, honestly, it makes you feel so much better.
Right, I've got to ask you this quickly before I let you go. But we hear on the grapevine, it's in the paper, so it must be true, that you've got your invite through for the coronation. Have you get your outfit looked out yet?
No, everyone keeps saying that. I don't know where it's come from.
Did you not get one? Yeah.
No, not yet. No, I don't even know where this come from. Like, I even had it on Loose Women the other day. They were like, "Oh, you going?" Janet Street Portland's like fuming that I've got this invite for the coronation. I'm like, I haven't yet got it.
Oh.
I'm going to keep saying it now, so you can put it on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for it.
Right. Okay. We'll make sure we'll pull some strings for you, right? And we'll see what we can
There you
do.
go. I'd love to be there. Of course I would.
Brilliant. Listen, really good to speak to you this morning, Kelly. It was lovely to chat.
Thank you so much. You too.
Yeah, Dame Kelly Holmes there, just talking about, well, first and foremost, the fact that she's sitting waiting for her invitation to the coronation, but also the fact that, if we just move that little bit more, then, the benefits could be life-changing. Right, okay, it is 10:24.
Join Des Clark and me, Amy Matthews, for Snookered.
The podcast for everybody that shares our love of the game.
Listen, he's taken snooker to a new level. He's an absolute genius.
Nothing is off the table as we talk to referees, pundits, presenters and players from every era.
A woman came up to me and said, "Could you sign my husband's spare prosthetic leg?"
What? You'll hear from guests like Steve Davis, Hazel Irvine, Stephen Hendry and John Virgo.
There's more to this game than potty and balls, And that's true.
And there's updates from the World Championship.
It smells the same, it looks the same, it feels the same, but yet every year it just throws up something completely different.
Snookered. How good was that? Listen now on BBC Sounds.
You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland with me, Connie McLaughlin. Coming up, I'll hear about the best things that you can do now to prepare your hair for summer. Who knew that was a thing? And keep listening to BBC Radio Scotland, because I'm going to give you the second clue for Name the Place that's coming your way shortly.
Oh, so dead. See, this what it's about right here. Understands me?
in Stirling. The second part of the place name has much in common with Buckie in Murray and Bannockburn in Stirling. Will I recap number 1 for you just in case you missed it? Yes, I think I will. Right, the first part of today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Bute. Do you know today's place name with clue number 1 and 2? 80295 if you do get your answers and your thoughts into me. Well, in fact, we've actually got a wrong answer already. Let me just, is it Fortrose, John and Annan, Stranraer, Neil and John from Paisley, and Ardrossan, Mike in Port Glasgow, and Stronsay, Robbie in Govan Hill? No, I feel as if Fortrose comes up every single time I do name the place. I'm not sure it's actually been the answer before, but certainly those are the wrong answers, so keep them coming in to me. 80295. Now it's time for Ask the Vet here in BBC Radio Scotland with our resident vet from Vets in Glasgow, Ross Allen. Morning, Ross.
Good morning, Connie.
We've got the full surgery, of course, after 11 o'clock this morning, but we thought we would quickly check in with you. I seen this really funny story, and I thought of you straight away. Actually, the world's smallest dog. What would you say?
Well, this caught my eye too. I think it is. Well, I'll be honest. I had to get out my wallet and a ruler. All right, and this is because the example given was that this dog that's called Pearl from Crystal Creek in Orlando, Florida, has been described as being about the same length as a dollar bill. And I've not been to America many times, so I wasn't sure how long that was. But this dog has been documented as being about the equivalent length of a fiver. So a Scottish fiver, that's the length of Pearl from Florida.
Tiny.
And that means that Pearl is the smallest dog that has been documented and described and is in the Guinness Book of Records. For now at least, as the smallest breed of dog. And it kind of does highlight, as a species, dogs have the largest variety in terms of size, but Pearl is tiny, no longer than a Scottish fiver. Right,
my first thought when I read that story, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but is this down, there's a lot of question marks around breeding, right? And the challenges that and I guess issues that brings up for certain dogs. Is this the case with this Chihuahua, do you think? Or is it just maybe sometimes that, there's been, everyone comes in different shapes and sizes and Pearl just has to be tiny or happens to be tiny?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of variety even within individual breeds. And I think, this is the headline and the story about Pearl, but I think what comes across is that she has been bred, and the owner, one of their previous dogs, was also held the record previously. So obviously, this owner has been breeding their dogs, probably due to their personality, but they've definitely been, selecting, whether or not purposefully, for them not to be getting larger, as it were. So the breeding will have played a part in it. I mean, in terms of Chihuahuas, like, as you rightly point out, there is a lot of concern about some breeds having certain risks or predispositions for certain medical conditions, for example. But Chihuahuas are not one that there is like a definitely heightened awareness or risks that we're worried about in terms of their size. But at the same time, I think maybe something to watch out for in the future. Yeah.
What about how you care for wee dogs like that? Would it be any different? Because I would imagine it's just like having a wee puppy.
Well, I think this is, when you think of the size of a fiver, this is even smaller than a puppy. Most puppies,
Yeah.
I see quite a lot of Chihuahuas, and even the ones that are normal size are quite small. They're maybe like 3 to 4 kilograms, so smaller than many cats. So I reckon, or my experience is that dogs like Pearl that are smaller and Chihuahuas tend not to. There are some that are the exception to the rule, but they tend not to spend a lot of time running about or walking about. They spend quite a lot of time being carried and wanting to be carried and lifted. And that's okay, but dogs do need exercise. So I think what I think of Chihuahuas is that they do like being lifted a lot, but they should spend time exercising on the ground and so on, and don't let them get too heavy, because they're a bad kind of combination of tiny little legs and a very heavy body, and that does make me worry about things like fractures and risks like that can happen if they get overweight, especially.
Ross, how do you know how often you should be walking or exercising your dog? Because I think I used to have a border collie who would she would have run until she lay down and collapsed on the floor. She was that type of dog. She just was so, like, she wouldn't say, you have to say like no to her, no more running after the ball or whatever. And then the current dog I've got just now, she'll be happy to go out and run about and exercise, but also equally just to lie in her bed. in our bed upside down and have a wee cosy for the day. So how do you know? I mean, because I guess every dog is different, not necessarily just related to the breed.
Yeah, I mean, every dog's different, but breed does come into it. And the example I normally give to clients is it's like Usain Bolt, the sprinter. He's a sprinter. He runs 100 meters. He doesn't want to run marathons. He doesn't need to run marathons to get fit. And it's all to do with his muscle fibers. And you get different types of muscle fibers, type 1, type 2, in dogs, the same as you do in people. And that that kind of makes them best suited to different type of exercise. So breed will come into it, especially in terms of likes of greyhounds, hounds that are sprinting dogs, maybe compared to spaniels or collies that are more maybe the marathon running dogs potentially.
Yeah, do greyhounds need a lot of exercise? Is that a myth?
No, that's a myth. They don't need a lot. They're like Usain Bolt. They're the sprinters. Mm-hmm. They get their energy, they do it, and then they need to recover for longer. What I would normally say is though that if you're wanting to exercise your dog and thinking of doing a bit more, it's similar to people. They need to train up to it. So don't go and do too much too soon. Or like people, if you overexert yourself, you're more likely to pick up injuries and niggles. So normally stepping up the exercise by maybe about 10% over 6 weeks, numbers like that, so that they have time to adapt and get used to the increased level of exercise. That's normally what I'd recommend and would be wise. Yeah.
Okay. Remember, if you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to put to Ross, you can do that 80295 if you want to send a text, or you can give us a call 08085 92 95 00, and Ross will be back just after 11 o'clock this morning. Right, time to get a little bit more music now, shall we? This .38 here in BBC Radio Scotland. If you are thinking about what you want to spruce up your hair for spring, how does a bold chop or a Barbie-inspired colour sound to you? Well, beauty experts say there's a couple of trends expected to make a comeback in 2023, and with the warmer weather right around the corner, we hope, potentially today actually, if you go by what the weather forecasters are saying, then what can you do to bring a little bit of a spring clean to your hair care routine and get your hair ready for summer? Here to tell us a little bit more is digital editor of cosmeticsbusiness.com, Sarah Parsons. Morning, Sarah.
Morning. Hi.
And hairdresser and founder of Manchetti by Charlotte Mensah hair range, Charlotte Mensah. Morning, Charlotte.
Hi.
Good to hear from both of you. Right, Sarah, I'm going to start with you about, I mentioned some of the trends there. What in the name of the wee man is Barbie-inspired coloured hair? We're thinking pinks and blues and what?
Yeah, so Barbie Core, so obviously the release of the upcoming Barbie film is having a big impact on beauty and fashion in general. So Barbie hair, we're thinking bold blondes, bold pinks, just loud and proud. That's all about it for the summer.
And are we seeing a lot of people actually buying into this? I'm just having a little nosy online here. There's a lot of sort of rainbow type colours, and I'm also assuming you probably need a couple of extensions for this if you were going full Barbie.
Well, that's the thing. So every time a trailer has been released, we're seeing a huge spike in Google searches for blonde hair. So do you need hair extensions? Yes, if you want. But I guess that's the amazing thing about Barbie. She had incredible hair, many different forms over the years. So, yeah, you can pick and choose.
Especially if you were my Barbie, because I used to give her a haircut on quite regular occasions and then not realise that it didn't grow. So I'd have these Barbies that were scalped, which was a bit annoying. Right, okay. Charlotte, what are you seeing people coming in and asking for?
I think a lot of people are going for like a very sort of bold chop. Like a lot of people are going for like bobs. I feel like bobs are really in so many different ways and lengths, and they want to wear it in its natural texture. Some want it blow dried and sleek, and we have this big, a big, everybody wants this silk press, so they want that kind of smoothness and that finish. But also, I find a lot of people are getting ready for summer, so they're asking for more treatments to help build the hair and all of that stuff.
I think it gets to this time of year when you've had you're kind of over your Christmas type look, and then you're coming into this new sort of phase and season where you just want something a little bit different. And then sometimes, Charlotte, and maybe this is the reason why people are going to go for the chop, but you sort of tend to be a little bit more bold.
Yes, I think the spring, isn't it? Everything looks fresh. The mornings are really light. You're feeling light in your energy, and you're just feeling I
want something different.
Yeah, and I want something fresh. And we've all had heavy clothing on, and now we're starting to remove them off. And it's nice to change the hair as well, and you just feel more confident and just more fresh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd never really thought, Sarah, about the fact that you probably should be thinking about your hair routine ahead of the warmer months. Tell us a little bit about what we should be doing and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Go for it, Sarah.
No worries. So there's a big movement happening that the idea that your scalp is skin, and so the idea of you're taking your skincare routine and applying it to your scalp, because really without a healthy scalp there's no point investing on all these wonderful products and all these new looks and everything if you aren't looking after your hair. So we know that feeling of when it's the first day of spring or summer and we run outside and we're a bit too excited and we get burnt. So imagine that, but on your hair and on your scalp. So that's why it is so important to make sure you're applying UV protection sprays, wearing a hat, going back to basics, and also maintaining your hair throughout the summer. So things like when you go on holidays, or perhaps you're going outdoor a bit more in general. So things like UV sprays, protecting from chlorine, so with those deep conditioning masks, and also perhaps prioritizing heatless treatments, so heatless curls rather than going for straighteners and traditional curling tongs.
Oh, Charlotte, this just feels like another thing I've got to do. Something else to add to the list that I need to moisturise.
No, definitely. I really resonate with what... sorry, I forgot your name.
Sarah.
Sorry, yeah. I really back what she's saying, because I think people are outdoors a lot, and the sun rays can be so, tough on the hair. So it's really a good time to, deep condition. We've also seen a rise in, scalp exfoliators. So in the salon, we're having so many clients asking for, scalp exfoliator, which is so good to remove all the build-up on the scalp, and also to get more blood circulation, and it just brings more oxygen to the hair as well. So in return, Farah said earlier, it a better, healthy plan for the hair. And you find that if the scalp is healthy, the hair will be healthy too.
It just makes me think, though, that there'll be lots of those little exfoliating beads in my hair, and I'm not going to be able to get them out if I start exfoliating my scalp, Charlotte.
Sorry, say that again?
It makes me kind of feel a little bit like if I start exfoliating my hair, it's hard enough to get those little beads off my face when I'm exfoliating my face. I'm going to have them all stuck in my hair.
Oh, no. There's so many amazing scrubs. Like, we have an amazing one in the salon, which is made with our Manketti oil, which is very weightless and it's very smooth salt, so it just dissolves. It doesn't actually have all these bits stuck in your hair, and it just makes your scalp so much more clean and so much more healthier. And like you find that when you actually dry your hair, whether it's air dry or blow dry, you find that it's more fuller and very light. Like, it just looks much more healthy and much more like, it just looks stronger in appearance as well.
So I'm sitting here having a little look online for hair exfoliation. Another thing.
It's amazing.
Right. Sarah, I'm often getting slagged for how often I use my tongs, right? Because I do like a little wave, and sometimes I'm told I'm burning my hair too much. So what do you do to try and have heatless movement and waves?
Yeah, you can do like a braid out or maybe a twist. So even if you were to put your hair into like 2 braids or 2 twists, or even wrap it in like a top knot or a bun, and then you took that out after a few hours, it always tends to have like some sort of natural movement and waves. So that's a good way to do a heatless method. It doesn't always have to be using a tool. There's so many ways you can create curls without using tools.
Sarah?
Yeah, so what we're seeing a lot actually on TikTok is these heatless curlers. So basically they're satin, imagine like a really chunky hairband.
I know,
and you're
I've seen
wrapping
it.
your hair, you've seen them? Yeah, and you're wrapping your hair around them and you're sleeping in them and you're waking up and you've got these beautiful curls. And they do work. And so they're a really great alternative, very convenient because you're sleeping overnight. I've even seen some people do them with like the dressing gown belts as well. So if you need something to hand, you've got that. But I wouldn't advise doing that because the material of dressing gowns can be more prone to frizz. So that's a really lovely alternative. And then going back to, the old-fashioned like ragging curls as well, or like, and the rollers, or what perhaps grandmothers perhaps used to wear. And there's a reason why they had these why they had the most beautiful curls, and all without heat.
Well, okay, I'm going to go home and try that later, and I'll tweet it out and I'll let you know how I get on. Thanks so much for your great insights. As always, Sarah Parsons, digital editor of cosmeticbusiness.com, and that was Charlotte Mensah as well, hairdresser and founder of Manketti by Charlotte Mensah. Right, okay, it is 10:47.
The Six Nations are ready. Wales,
Italy,
Ireland,
They twist, they turn, they're over.
France,
England,
Scotland.
That was ferocious.
We are Six Nations.
The Women's Six Nations continues this weekend.
And she is mobbed by her teammates.
Watch on iPlayer. Listen on BBC Sounds.
You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland. It's Connie McLaughlin with you until midday today. Ross Allen joins me a little bit later, just after 11 o'clock, for this morning's Ask the Vet surgery. If you've got any questions, maybe about your dog, your cat, hamster, anything at all, any pet that lives with you, or maybe, I don't know, one that you know, and you've got something that's burning in your mind that you'd love to ask Ross, then 80295 is the way to get in touch, or you can give us a call, 08085 92 95 00. We've not the Claxton yet, so it means that we've no correct answers for Name the Place just yet. I'm going to give you another clue though, just after this. Bye. 10:52 here on BBC Radio Scotland. I did promise you some more clues for Name the Place. Clue number 3, if you are ready. Right, the next clue is the subject of a novel by Anna Sewell. The next clue, is that the right pronunciation of that? Sewell? The next clue is the subject of a novel by Anna Sewell. I'm saying that with great confidence. I'm going to double check that, making sure that's exactly the right pronunciation, but you get the jazz. Right, clue number 1. The first part of today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Bute. And clue number 2, the second part of the place name has much in common with Buckie and Murray and Bannockburn in Stirling. Has that made it any easier for you? 80295 is the best way to get in touch.
Get in touch with BBC Radio Scotland.
You can call our free phone number on 08085 92 95 00. Text 80295. Standard message rates apply.
This is BBC Radio Scotland.
So, if you know, text me 80295. I'll see it. I'm sure someone out there will know. Right, in BBC Scotland, we've been talking a lot, haven't we, about the cost of living crisis. It's probably made most of us think a little bit more carefully about how we are spending our precious cash. But have you thought about whether or not you'll keep buying your favourite bottle of wine, perhaps? Following on from last month's budget, alcohol duty on products, including wine actually, and whiskey, is due to increase by around 10% this August, which means that the price of your average bottle of wine could go up by around 44 pence. So we thought we'd have a little chat about this morning. With me is Tom Canavan, the editor of winepages.com. Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Connie.
And Shane Goodbody, who is the director of part owner of the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow. Morning, Shane.
Good morning.
Tom, give us a little bit of an overview before we do anything else about why we're seeing this price hike in the first place.
Yeah, well, duty on alcohol had been frozen for a couple of years prior to this latest price hike, which means that it hadn't changed for 3 years, basically. So there was that ending of the kind of freeze on duty coincided with them raising it by the RPI of 10.1%. So in total, the rise in duty is on average around 20% of the duty price formerly, which will come into force in August. So it's going to hit all alcohols, basically. One or two exceptions, actually, where lower alcohol products will actually fall slightly in duty, but most will rise.
Shane, how do you anticipate this will affect things for you?
Well, it's definitely going to mean an increase in prices on the shelf. As you said, wine duty will increase by 44p a bottle. That will actually mean an increase in nearly 20% on the... that is an increase in nearly 20%, which will mean an increase of... because that is added onto duty, so it's more than an increase of 44%, so this could be like 60 to 70 pence per bottle on every bottle of wine.
And I'm assuming that's something that you naturally have to then, pass on to the customer. And there'll be people at home thinking to themselves, okay, well, I can enjoy a couple of glasses of wine responsibly, and we obviously reiterate that point. But if people are out there still thinking, like, I want to have a good quality wine, but I don't want to pay the amount of money that I might have before, are there good, reasonably priced bottles of wine that people can not break the bank in purchasing, Shane?
Yeah, but they're going to become fewer with this increase. The thing is that the more you pay for a bottle of wine, you will get an exponentially better bottle of wine. If you're buying something for £6 a bottle, there's only about 25 pence worth of wine in that, like once you've taken all the duty and VAT and everyone else's margin into account. Whereas if you buy wine for £10 to £12 a bottle, you will get a much better quality bottle of wine, and you will still be able to buy a bottle of wine for that much. But we can't compete with the supermarkets. Our cheapest bottle of wine at the moment is £9, and that looks like going up to £9.70. And we've only got a handful of wines at that price. So,
call me a sceptic, right, Shane? And I'm very aware of the industry and the business that you run, right? But is there a real difference between buying a bottle of wine for £6 or coming to you and buying a bottle for £9? And when it starts to creep up incrementally, is there a real difference in what you would taste for people who are maybe not necessarily wine buffs?
That's difficult question to answer. It depends what you're looking for from a bottle of wine. If you're just looking for something that tastes nice and you're going to share with friends and not have to think about it, then there's a lot of perfectly drinkable bottles of wine at under £10. But what interests us, and I'm pretty sure Tom will agree with me on this, is that wine, the infinite variety in wine and how it can change from place to place and from grape to grape, and that's what makes wine really interesting, and you don't get that in wines from under a tenner, basically.
Tom, do you think this could potentially be the time that more people might start looking at the non-alcoholic wines? Although, to be fair, they're still quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean, there does seem to be a slight rise in interest in those. What we have are kind of two categories. One is wines where the alcohol has been reduced. So you'll get a bottle of wine, quite a lot of them around from France and from New Zealand and from other places, where the alcohol's down to about 8.5%, and that's been done by various means. And those are quite nice bottles of wine, and they will hit the lowest duty points, but you'll still have to pay the duty. Now, completely alcohol-free versions of wine tend to start off life as real wines and have the alcohol removed. There's a variety of techniques that can do that. Now, those are still, as you say, relatively expensive. You save on the duty, but for the actual production cost is still there. But the other point is that if you're a wine drinker, they're not really a substitute, to be honest with you. I mean, they can be perfectly nice, perfectly quaffable drinks, but in my experience, none of them actually taste like wine once the alcohol is removed. I'm afraid it just drops the character of the product as well.
I've had a nice non-alcoholic Prosecco before. It's quite nice, tastes quite similar. But I guess it's that thing about with purpose, and I suppose the reason why you're doing that. More people seem to be encouraged to try and reduce the amount they're drinking. Listen, thank you so much to both of you. Really interesting. That was Tom Canavan, their editor of winepages.com, and Shane Goodbody, director and part owner of the Good Spirits Company. What do you think about that, the potential increase, or the proposed increase that's going to happen, we reckon, in August? On the average bottle of wine, 44p apparently. It could go up per bottle. Keep your thoughts coming in to me about Name the Place. By the way, we've had a couple of more wrong answers. Black Ness says Quigley. No, that's the wrong answer. 80295 is the way to get in touch if you think that clue 1, 2 or 3 has made it any easier for you. Second guess, Musselburgh John from Annan. No, you are wrong. I'll get more and give you more clues after this. Of weather coverage here at BBC Radio Scotland. Just basically I need to know this so how I can plan my day out. Well, that's what we need the weather for, isn't it? Anyway, right, you're listening to BBC Radio Scotland. It's me, Connie McLaughlin, until noon. Ross Allen is standing by. He's ready and waiting to open the Ask the Vet surgery door. There's still plenty of time to get your questions in, or you can call right now 08085 92 95 00, or you can send a text on 80295. I shouldn't say this, but I absolutely love the Call the Vet surgery. This is exciting because there's loads of opportunities to talk about animals. Also coming up,
she was just 35 when she was diagnosed with incurable stage 4 bowel cancer, but determined to stay positive and help others living with the disease.
That's Lorraine Kelly there. Right? She's speaking of the late Dame Deborah James. She's going to be joining me to talk about the continuing work on this year's No Buts campaign. So we'll hear what she's got to say and how she's taken part in that campaign. Plus, with concerns raised about the toxins in gel nail polish, have you heard about this? I'm going to be finding out just how safe your manicure is.
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
I think that's going to be really interesting, actually, because this is something that many of you might do on quite a regular basis and not realising actually what the product is and how dangerous or not it might be to our general health, because it's obviously going on straight onto the nail. So that'll be before midday today. Tricky name the place this week still, no correct answer. And what is it? 7 minutes past 11. Well, I'll recap the clues that we've got so far and then I'll give you clue 4. Does that sound okay? Right, clue number 1. The first part of today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Bute. Clue number 2. The second part of the place name has much in common with Buckie in Murray and Bannockburn in Stirling. And the next clue is the subject of a novel by Anna Sewell. And I'm told that's how you pronounce it. Clue number 4. The wider area shares part of its name with the title of the same novel. The wider area shares part of its name with the title of the same novel. Does that make it any easier for you? 80295 is the way to get in touch. After this from Blur.
Running for your life by the night, running from your wife. Yikes, you should have stuck with home. On your mind to blow your dome. It was you that chose you to. You built a maze you can't get through. I tried to help you all I can. Now I can't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. You got all these people on your back now. I can't do nothing for you, man. Flavor Flav got problems of his own. I can't do nothing for you, man. Go lean on shells, answer, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. You jumped out of the jelly into a jam. Making love the wrong instead of right. Trying to be cat burgling through the night. The cops told your girl her name was Cheryl. About a rooftop crime to steal a pearl. Uzi down, no bullets in the gun. The judge microwave them, serve the gun. The lawyers tried to help them all they can, but they couldn't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. They couldn't do nothing for you, man. Yo, Jay, let's sin. For you all, eating welfare turkey out the can. I can't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. You want $6 for what? I can't do nothing for you, man. You better, man, kiss my butt. I can't do nothing for you, man. I'm busy trying to do for me. I can't do nothing for you, man. That's the way the ball bounces, G.
I have got lots of you getting in touch with us already for a call the vet, Ask the Vet surgery. Ross Allen's back with us. Hi, Ross.
Hi, Connie.
Well, we'll get straight to the phone lines because we're busy this afternoon and we can speak to Joanna in Aberdeen. Morning, Joanna.
Good morning. How are you both?
Good, thank you. Good to hear from you. You've got the ear of Ross. He's ready and waiting, so fire away.
Okay, morning, Ross. So my question is, it's not actually for me, it's for my godmother. She was telling me on Sunday that one of her daughters has a lab who's about 10, 11 years old and has arthritis or had arthritis, whatever. And the vet put her on medication, which has now taken the arthritis away. Is that possible? I don't know. But anyway, my godmother is in her mid-70s and she's a very fit lady, cyclist, gardener, all the rest of it. But she's having just recently, really bad arthritis in her knees. And she was wondering if medication that's given to a dog could be prescribed for a human being as well.
Well, Joanna, I'm not going to do that, I'm afraid.
No, I'm not asking you to do that. Yeah. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you because I know that there's a lot of, because we're all mammals. So
yeah. So we are all mammals, and there are a lot of similarities between osteoarthritis in dogs and osteoarthritis in people. And what is interesting is that there's more and more interest in terms of learning about how best to manage arthritis in dogs, and maybe developing, that information and that knowledge to improve the management of osteoarthritis in people. But there probably are a few kind of fundamental things, and one of them is that, like, arthritis is a commonly used term, but there are different types of arthritis, and in dogs, osteoarthritis, which is degenerative change inside the joint and a breakdown of cartilage on the inside of the joint, less lubrication to the joint, and is the cause of lameness like that, is the most common form by far. Whereas in people, there are other types of arthritis, and you'll be familiar with terms like rheumatoid arthritis, or there's other inflammatory arthritis type conditions in people. They're far more common in people than they are in dogs. In terms of your godmother's dog themselves, what symptoms were they showing, and what did you notice when they got the medication, Joanna?
I don't have a Scooby because they're down in Glasgow and I'm up in Aberdeen.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. No, that's right.
No, it's not actually my godmother's dog. It's one of her daughters who has a dog who's been beaten. Yeah.
Right, good. So osteoarthritis affects about 1 in 5 dogs over 2 years old. And the most common symptoms are they're a bit stiff, a bit sore. Quite often they'll be slow at certain times in the day. So especially when they get up from lying down first thing in the morning or after exercise. If they have a lie down, they'll be a bit creaky and a bit stiff as they get up and out of their bed after that. And what you mentioned, your godmother's experience or of her friend's dog or whatever is quite common in that if they've got a bit of arthritis and they get some anti-inflammatory medication, which is the most common used form, it can make a big difference to that dog's arthritis. They can be far less stiff, far less sore, get up and look sprightlier, look brighter, look happier, which is fantastic, but maybe one thing that is important is that whilst medications can help osteoarthritis in dogs, and the correct medications can help people with osteoarthritis as well, what's also important, and increasingly aware that we need to not just think of pharmaceuticals but also about lifestyle changes and exercise and diet and a whole variety of other things that can be used to help treat dogs like the one you mentioned.
Ross, is this a wider conversation about how we can, or the world of medicine, human medicine, and the world of veterinary science could maybe do better to work together? Because I remember listening to a thing from the super vet, Noel Fitzpatrick, talking about the amazing sort of strides he's made in joints and different sort of things to fix sort of broken legs and orthopedics and stuff like that. And he was saying exactly that.
Yeah, so absolutely, Connie. So the phrase that's in the vet press, the human press out of it, is One Health, and it's this idea of collectively working together. And this isn't about doing trials or practicing on pets. It's not that at all. At the same time, pets, we look after them really well. We have a good understanding about the diseases they get, and they have naturally occurring, and the word is spontaneous, diseases that are often also seen in humans. So, and osteoarthritis probably is one of the best examples. So, dogs, we know that they live long, happy lives, but we also know their lifespan is not as long as us humans. So when a dog gets arthritis and we treat it and it responds to the treatment we give, there's an increasing interest about how we can use that knowledge and management and monitoring these patients, how we can develop our experience and our knowledge from that to better help humans. And it even goes beyond that, in that there are drugs that are coming into the veterinary market to treat arthritis that have been properly tested, properly licensed, that actually are in some ways ahead of what's available in human healthcare. And there's interest about how knowledge goes both ways, not just as maybe historically was the case from human health down to animals. There's more to be gained if we work together.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Joanna, because that's a really interesting point. Hopefully you get the answer, and hopefully your godmother sees an improvement in her symptoms really soon. I suppose that also begs the question that we reiterate the point that it works the other way as well, but not giving your medication to your pets. Right, Bob and Giffnock's on the line. Bob, you want to talk about Basil the Bulldog?
Yes, good morning,
Morning.
Bob. Yeah,
morning, Bob.
Ross, good morning. Morning. So I have a 3 years of age male French Bulldog called Basil. He likes to patrol the front window. If any person, animal, God forbid, cat or pigeon goes past, he turns into a wild wolf, for want of a better term. the barking, and it takes a hell of a lot to calm him back down. He does the same thing if any member of the family leaves the property, even although there may be someone else back in the house with him. He does the exact same thing. Really, really barks, and it does take a long time to calm him down. Is there anything we can do to try and calm him down, or do I just have a loony French bulldog?
Well, thanks for calling in, Bob. And I'll try my best to help, but it is difficult. I mean, am I right in saying, Bob, he's about 3 years old, Basil? Is that right? Yeah.
He is. He's 3 years old, and he is neutered.
Yeah. And he's been doing this for a while. Would that be right, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's probably a few reasons, or he's learned to do this. That's the main thing. He's learned to do this, and he probably likes to do it, or he thinks it's rewarding in some ways. So that's why it keeps him going, and he's probably excited partly to see what's outside and what's passing by, and he wants to let you know and respond the way he does when he sees things. And also when people go, he wants to let them know that he sees them go. So it's almost like his habit and his routine that he's into, and he's going to probably keep on doing that. And it's going to be difficult to make an impact and settle it down. At the same time, if you're going to try, what is the most important thing is to come up with a plan for the whole family, especially if there's people coming and going in your house, different times of days, because the same thing needs to happen every time, all right? I mean, what do you do at the moment, Bob? When he's barking in the house and setting off because there's a pigeon landed outside or whatever, what do you do? What's your response to Basil when he's doing that?
Well, sometimes it's like a scene from Fawlty Towers, because you just hear the word Basil being shouted. So it's like an absolute madhouse, to be honest. So
Right.
yeah, it's not calm.
Oh, it's not calm, and you've probably hit the nail on the head there. If you're shouting Basil, you don't need to do the voice, but if you're shouting Basil when he's barking, he's probably thinking wagging. Well, he's not got a big tail because he's a Frenchie, but he's probably thinking, actually, I'm getting all this attention. I'm that great. I'm barking at the cat, the person. They're saying Basil all the time, so he's getting the reward from that. Even if you don't think he's getting the reward, he probably is perceiving that. So what to do, and I could give you a brief summary just now, but if you were going to try and get on top of this, you probably would best advise to maybe speak to a behaviouralist as well to give you a more comprehensive plan. But the main thing to do is not to shout Basil when he's barking and getting excited, to totally ignore him, to totally blank him when he's showing those behaviours, and instead, reward him when he's behaving properly. So that might be difficult to get him started on that, and that he's used to barking and getting excited when you're leaving the house. But if you could try and maybe, initially just open the door and close it, nobody goes out, and he'll think, what happened there? I don't see anybody. And then if you can reward him, so give him a wee treat and make a fuss of him, say Basil, but not for when he's barking, but for when he's maybe not, set off and got excited. And if you can try and develop that, and this is like over months, to try and desensitize him to the behaviour that he's used to showing. Sometimes in some dogs there are some medications that can help them. There's maybe some other things, like there's collars that are meant to calm them down and chill them out. But fundamentally it comes down to a behavioural modification plan, and also what's really critically important is the whole family's on board. Because if one person starts off shouting Basil, he'll just revert back to what he's used to doing.
Yeah, so basically I need to work on my wife, is what you're saying, Ross, so that's fine. Yeah.
And if Bob's wife's listening, you can lock the doors now. Right, Bob, good luck with that. Let us know how you got on.
Thanks ever so much. Thank you.
That was Bob and Gifford talking about Basil, his French bulldog. We've got this text in, Ross, from, doesn't actually give us a name, but the person says, I've got a 5-year-old vixen that comes to visit called Dot. She appears to have lost sight in one eye. It doesn't reflect any light. Is this an infection? If so, is there anything that I can give her to help her, because she's feeding cubs at the moment?
That's an interesting message in that. So in terms of reflecting the light, this is when light shines into their eyes for many different animals, and you'll see the brightness coming back, and that's this thing called the tapetal reflex. So different animals have different colours of response, as it were, or the light shining back. If it looks dull, so if one eye looks dull, it might be an infection or something like that, but the whether or not there's this shining from the eye doesn't really tell you if there's an infection or not. So what I would recommend is that if it's possible to try and get a closer look, take a wee photo and zoom in on it or something like that to see if there's any discharge or runniness from the eye. that may be what you're best to try and check out first of all. But it's difficult to say whether or not it's an infection, but it does suggest there is some sort of changes within that eye, but the exact nature, a bit unsure.
If someone came to you and said that they've got someone coming to visit their garden, would you prescribe antibiotics for a fox that you hadn't seen?
I would be cautious about that. I would probably get some guidance, and there are some good charities in Scotland that do deal with wild animals and will help, vets in practice and members of the public that come across them. So there's one down in Ayrshire called Hessel Head. There are some others as well. So often speaking to the charities, and there will be people that are more experienced in dealing with these scenarios, is what I'd recommend.
Sort of SSPCA territory, maybe?
SSPCA or the wildlife charities themselves, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thanks so much for your text about your wee fox. Hopefully Dot is doing better soon. This one, just this quick story I wanted to get your take on. It was a story in The Guardian about a person who had a housemate who washed their dog in the bath that everyone shares. Is it an issue with, we have to keep our dogs and animals clean and making sure that they're not carrying any extra passengers, think fleas. But should we do that in the same bath, or should we take them outside and use a hose?
I think it's each to their own, Connie, isn't it? I think, you get a small dog and a big bath and you're happy to do it, and some folk would be comfortable with that. But at the same time, you do get some really large dogs with scratchy nails, and you might have a plastic bath and think, I'm not going to be doing that. The damage to the bath and the smell of the water and so on and so forth. But there's nothing fundamentally that's wrong with washing your dog in the bath. I think what is important is you don't need to go in the bath with them. We're not advocating that. And probably if you do give your dog a wash in the bath, they've got a lot more hair, as it were, so they do need soaked for a while in the water before you add the shampoo. So normally what I would recommend to folk, if their dog's got a skin infection or if they're needing to get shampooed to properly clean their coat, I normally say to folk it will take about 25 minutes. You'll need to get them wet for about 7 minutes or so, lather up the shampoo, leave it on for a good maybe 5 to 7 minutes or so, and then rinse it off for the same time again, to actually get in there and flush out their coat and clean it properly. So washing a dog can take longer than a shower, but it can be done in the bath. As long as your flatmates or your housemates are happy, there's no reason not to. It should be okay.
I've got a dog in the house that would categorically rather do anything than get in the bath or a shower. Honest to God. She'll not speak to me for about an hour afterwards. As if, how could you have done this to me again? Anyway, right, okay. Hopefully that helps you at home. And thanks so much, Ross. As always, good to speak to you.
Thanks, Connie.
See you again soon. That's Ross Allen from Pets and Vets in Glasgow. It's 11:26, and then after me at midday, it's Lunchtime Live, and Hayley's here to tell us what's coming up. Morning, Hayley.
Good morning, Connie. Hi there. Well, the SNP's treasurer, Colin Beattie's been arrested this morning by police investigating the party's finances. It follows the arrest of the former SNP chief executive Peter Murrell, Nicola Sturgeon's husband, of course, who was released a couple of weeks ago and arrested and then released again. So those investigations are continuing, and it comes just ahead of Humza Yousaf's first big policy announcement as First Minister this afternoon in Parliament. So, these events continue, it seems, to overshadow what the government is trying to do. Also, research suggests the number of people in Scotland living in what's called very deep poverty has gone up by 50% in the last 25 years. We'll hear more from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation about the state of poverty in the country at the moment. And we'll also be talking about Ofgem's new rules on the enforced instalment of prepayment meters. There was a temporary ban on that, but it seems has now been lifted, apart from for the most vulnerable households. So we'll get reaction to that and move over Coronation Chicken. A new recipe for Coronation Quiche has been released by Buckingham Palace. We'll be talking about that and asking whether it is fitting for a coronation. So all of that and more with Barry and myself from 12.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Hayley.
One programme.
It is Get It On. I'm Brian Burnett.
Countless themes.
The folk who got better as they get older.
Like the legend of the Phoenix.
Those classics that have been forgotten about. The inspirational Moonlight and the songs that have reflected it.
Dancing in the
Endless possibilities.
She said, what a great theme. Should get plenty of my childhood loves. You've certainly been having your say on musical instruments.
You choose the music. Get it on with Brian Burnett. Monday to Thursday from 6 p.m. on BBC Radio Scotland and BBC Sounds.
You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland with me, Connie McLaughlin. Coming up, just how safe are gel manicures? We're going to be finding out the true impact of the toxins in your polish. And it's happened. Finally. We've got a correct answer. Linda and Barra, well done to you. She got it right at 11:08 this morning, so 20 minutes ago. Let me just recap this morning's clues for Name the Place if you're taking part. The first clue is today's place name has much in common with Troon in Ayrshire and Rue in Argyll and Bute. Clue 2, the second part of the place name has much in common with Buckie and Murray and Bannockburn in Stirling. The next clue, clue 3, is the subject of a novel by Anna Sewell. The wider area shares part of its name with the title of the same novel as clue 4. And clue 5, a local carving shares part of its name with the author of Robinson Crusoe. If you're still trying to play along, I will give you clue number 6 shortly. If you think you've got the answer, you can text 80295. We're going to be speaking to Lorraine Kelly shortly, but let's get some more music. This is Annie Lennox.
Oh, baby.
Tell me, baby, how can I make it up to you? Well, I feel so stupid, I don't know what to do. Oh, I thought the grass was greener on the other side. I'm sitting here with me, myself, and I. Don't need no whiskey, don't need no wine, don't need no other stuff to cloud my mind. 'Cause I hurt my woman, been so good to me. So bring me a seat back, a common sense. What kind of fool would trade his gold for a losing hand? Especially when he got a woman as good as I had. Yeah, you know I took her for granted and treated her so bad, so bad, so bad. Now all I can do is work and try to get my baby back. Don't need no whiskey, don't need no wine, don't need no other stuff to cloud my mind. 'Cause I hurt my woman, been so good to me. So bring me a six pack, a common sense. I ain't too proud to beg. You got everything I need. So baby, please let me come back home. I learned my lesson. I know I've done you wrong. Don't want no whiskey, don't want no wine, don't need that other stuff to cloud my mind. 'Cause I hurt my woman, been so good to me. So bring me a six pack, a common sense. Oh baby, I know I done you wrong. Please baby, I'm hurting every night. I need you baby, I need you by my side. Please, please.
The mic Mike down there trying to hit the high note with that. Didn't quite get it. Hopefully you did at home. Listen, we're talking about Name the Place. Have you got any closer to getting the right answer? Because I actually want to go through some of the wrong answers for you. Muir of Ord, this anonymous texter. No, it's not. Bewley, says Kevin in Dundee. It's not. Culbokie, Sandy Adam and Crieff. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce that. Arndon Capel, Mike in Port Glasgow. No, it's not. And then we've got the Black Isle, John and Skye, and Blackness from Quigley had sent that in. Let me just see if there's any more. We've got Boat of Garton, which is from an anonymous texter. Falkirk says Rona in Fortrose. We've got a lot of Fortrose chat this morning. Blackburn and West Lothian says Alan in Burnt Island, and Buccleuch, Doreen in the Scottish borders. No, but I tell you what, we do have one right answer, and it was from Linda in Barra, who got it at 11:08 this morning. Have you get any closer to it? Right, we'll go through. Let me just quickly go through clue 1, 2 and 3 for you, right? So clue number 1, the first part of today's place name has much in common with Toon and Ayrshire, Ruan, Argyll and Bute. Second part of the place name has much in common with Buckie and Murray, and Blackburn in Stirling. And then clue 3, the next clue is the subject of a novel by Anna Sewell. Clue 4, the area shares part of its name with the title of the same novel. And clue 5, a local carving shares part of its name with the author of Robinson Crusoe. Shall I give you clue 6? What time are we on? 11:35. I'll give you clue 6. This might help you. Right, it's given its name to one of the most important examples of Pictish art in stone. It's given its name to one of the most important examples of Pictish art in stone. Right, 80295 is how to get in touch with me. You know the way. You can give me a call as well if you want. 08085 92 95 00. Now, you might remember this.
When bowel cancer is caught early, it is survivable, but we need people to talk about it. We need people to not feel embarrassed, because ultimately that's how we can save lives.
The unmistakable voice of Dame Deborah James there, speaking about bowel cancer as part of the 2022 No Buts, a campaign aiming to smash the stigma around bowel cancer. A year on, the No Buts campaign is back, and in support of Bowel Cancer Awareness Month, raising awareness of the disease and celebrating the life of the great Dame Deborah, of course, into the bargain as well. And leading the way in the campaign's third year is Scotland's very own Lorraine Kelly. Morning to Lorraine.
Hello, love. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm really good. Do you know what? I was just listening to that clip of Deborah there, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that campaign and being part of that, the No Buts campaign, just does not seem like that was a year ago. It's just flown by.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, it's not that long ago. Not long that we've got to go before it's a year since she died. And I'll be honest with you, I find it very hard to talk about her in the past tense, because she feels, she was so vibrant and so full of life. And obviously, we're doing this campaign again. And we launched it yesterday with her mother and her sister on my show. And the three of us just looked